Okay, so I actually just got asked this question by someone I know in real life. Should you go out, if you're in the state of California right now, and get yourself a glizzy because of the Glock ban? Well, there's a lot that can go into that, and I'm just making this video specifically to touch only on that. I'll talk about some of the pros, we'll do a little speculation about whether or not it could be worth it, all so that you can kind of make that decision for yourself. Well, let's look at it this way. Right now, the Glock ban is in front of Newsom's desk. If he ignores it or if he signs it, it goes into law. And then after January 1st, it's going to get really tough to get a Glock, a Shadow Systems, a Smith & Wesson's SD40 VE, or really any of the Glock clones that use the Glock style trigger mechanism. So if he doesn't veto it, there's a chance he vetoes it, not a very big one, and it's kind of speculative. But if the likely scenario happens and the Glock ban goes into effect, it'll be much more difficult to get one. So if you have been absolutely chomping at the bit, you need yourself a Glock Gen 3 in the state of California, and you have the money, you're not going to go into credit card debt, you're not going to be hurt by it, and it's not going to prevent you from buying ammo that you would otherwise use that money for, training, getting good with the guns you already have, it could be worth doing it. Now, just going to say really quickly, thank you to the supporters of the channel. Thank you everyone that likes, comments, subscribes, all that stuff. It's very helpful. I posted a video the other day about the vampire clause. The Supreme Court is actually going to be potentially doing something, so go watch that video if you want to. So let's think about it. Let's kind of think about it. So let's say that this Glock ban has a really, really good chance to go into effect, and we are assuming that it is going into effect, right? Glocks are good guns. Like, they're good. They're not amazing, but they're really good at what they are. They're simple. They're easy to take care of. They require very minimal maintenance. Great aftermarket, great parts replacement. Realistically, if you're watching this video, you probably don't shoot enough to ever wear out a Glock. It's just the way it is. So you can probably get 70 to 80,000 rounds on that barrel before it wears out. Just being frank with you. So they're good. They're good for that reason. However, in California now, we have much better options available to us. Because of the Boland versus Bonta handgun roster lawsuit that I'm a plaintiff in, that's funded by the CRPA, because of that lawsuit, there's actually better options on the market currently. For example, this Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. I'm calling that one out by name specifically because magazines and those guns existed in 2019, which means that you have Freedom Week mags for those guns that you might not have owned yet. That's great. So there's better performing guns on the market that have basically the same reliability track record out there that aren't going to be banned, that have better shooting performance, in my opinion, for a variety of reasons. You can be great with a Glock. I'm not saying that at all. But you got to kind of look at it this way. Like, if you already have guns and you're very experienced, is it worth picking up a Honda Civic? You know, like, if you already have a nice car, you have a good daily driver, you have some other vehicles for specific things, like maybe in the household, one of you has a truck. Do you need to pick up a second daily driver that you probably wouldn't actually daily drive? That's kind of the way that I think most of you would kind of fall into, because you probably own guns already. Maybe you already have a reliable striker fire, double stack 9mm, duty-oriented, self-defense-oriented, or concealed carry pistol. If you already have one of those, a Glock is not going to be really adding a whole lot to your life. Now, if you don't have a gun currently, and you've been like, you know, I was thinking maybe sometime January, February, I was going to pick up a Glock. Well, could be worth it. And it could be worth it doing it now if you can afford it. That's the big thing here. If you can afford it and you've really wanted one, Glock has canceled the orders of all Gen 3 California compliant Glocks to the distributors. So they're not taking any new orders. I might have said canceled. They are canceling the taking of new orders. So distributor like RSR Group, Gas, Lipsies, all these big wholesalers placed orders with Glock saying, hey, 100 bajillion Glocks, please. And then Glock says, okay, give us money. And then Glock gives them the guns, and the wholesaler gives Glock money. Well, a lot of orders have already been placed. Those are all good. Those are seemingly going to be fulfilled. But what we're seeing now is that since it's been about at least a couple weeks, distributors have reported that Glock has not accepted any new ones, and most of their orders have already been fulfilled, which means downstream, gun stores are likely soon going to end up with an inability to acquire new Glocks at a normal, fair price. I would never, personally, overpay for a Glock. Like $529, $559, that's the top for me. $499 is like, I might just go pick one up for shits and gigs, But as those prices start creeping up, do not do it. Get yourself something else. There are better options that are available in the state of California that you can have, that you do have Freedom Week magazines for, specifically the M&P 2.0. If you're a 320 enjoyer, I'm kind of burnt out on them, but that's another option. Beretta 92s. There's a lot of options out there for guns that existed. The HK VP9, which again, I'm not a huge fan of the VP9. It's a fine gun, but that's really all it is. It's kind of expensive, and it's expensive for the lack of benefit that I see that it offers for some of the other guns in the same price range. There's a lot of guns out there that you could have just had Freedom Week mags for, that you could get that gun instead of the Glock. So personally, I have no desire. I mean, the only reason that I'm actually picking up a Gen 3 Glock 17 on Wednesday is because I currently don't own a Gen 3 Glock. I don't own a Gen 3 Glock. And I'm a YouTuber, I'm a content creator, I make videos about stuff. Sometimes there's an upgrade part that I'm like, man, I would love to test that out. That could be fun to try, and I'd like to be able to make content on it. Well, I don't want to have to go bother my friend and say, yo, Brendan, can I take your gun out to the range and we could put these weird parts in it and see if it works really good? It's kind of just a pain in the ass. I should personally, being in the position I'm in, I should own a Gen 3 Glock. I don't. I own a Gen 5, and it is what it is. So, but for the average person, I'm not even sure that I would say to go get a Glock in general, even if this wasn't happening. There's other things that are better, in my opinion, for certain reasons. Glocks are great. They're fantastic pistols for what they are. And what they are is simple, reliable, durable, inexpensive. So when you make them more expensive, immediately, one of the biggest reasons to buy them out the window. So, moral of the story is, don't panic buy a Glock in California, but if you've really wanted one and you can afford it and it's an appropriate price, not a terrible idea to pick one up. Go check out my recent video. You guys know the drill. Have fun, be safe, stay dangerous. Peace.